Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Tunnel Vision, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined alongside Shotgun Spratling and Ryan Abraham, those two little misfits over there. Misfits.
And we're not little, we've been big misfits, if anything.
Whatever, I'll characterize you how I want to. Today, we're going to be talking about USC's 38-21 victory over Oregon State. I'm fresh off the plane from Portland, which is good. Made it back for the show. We'll be talking about a much-needed win that USC got. We'll also be talking about injury updates. Seems like the Trojans got a little banged up in Portland. We just heard from Clay Helton on his conference call, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, are there defensive concerns after a performance that we saw last night?
There was a lot of tweets. People upset with Quincy Pendergast's defense.
Yeah, people are a little feisty.
There's been a game where people aren't upset.
No, there's upset about everything. Before we jump into it, I love the people that are upset about the running back situation. Before it's like, why aren't they running Stephen Carr more? Then why aren't they running Vavai Malapaya more? Then why aren't they running Akasaja? It's like whoever is not running as much, that's who they're complaining they should be running more. So it's pretty good. They're all three good, so it's you have good problems there.
Yeah, we're going to sneak peek into what we're going to talk about. And of course, we will be answering your questions. I believe we are trimulcasting on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Periscope. So make sure you get your questions in. We'll be monitoring those.
My buddy Sean Canelli's on Periscope. I watch him. Hey, Sean. He said hi on there.
Well, there we have it. Okay. You guys got to watch it on the broadcast version. What were your guys' takeaways from Oregon State? I mean, this was a win that USC definitely needed. If they didn't, it would be disaster, apocalypse, doomsday. But it was a goodish win. But how much do you take away when the opponent is Oregon State, which is not the toughest competitor?
Yeah, that was a big thing on social media. If you're watching or on the message boards, it's kind of like tempered thing. And it's funny. I had people complaining, like when I would say, "Oh, Oregon State had a nice drive" or something. I had someone complain actually about you and me. Well, why are you in shotgun always just complaining about the team? Why are you even covering them? And then other people were like, oh, that was a great play. I would say like, oh, that's a great play or something. And be like, it's Oregon State. They're terrible. Don't compliment them. So it's funny you get it from both sides. You're either being too positive or too negative or whatever. But I think it's a road win, not just a win away from home. It's a road win. And USC had lost 2 in a row, something that they needed to do. There was some significant changes. They had to show, hey, the offense could still work without an offensive line coach or moving Tim Drevno over or not having a running back coach or however you want to look at it. I think they showed, hey, this team can work. They looked pretty good against a Oregon State Beaver team that can be a little feisty at times. You know, we saw them win on the road to Colorado. We saw them feisty when they scored the 21 straight points or whatever it was. Like, that was pretty good.
True.
They had some pretty good defensive plays at times. And then other times, it's basically when USC started to just throw the ball only, that really helped the Oregon State defense. When USC said, hey, we're just going to run the ball, there's really nothing they could do. And there was the point where I just tweeted, like, never throw the ball again, just run the ball. So you saw the talent disparity, and I think it was pretty apparent, you know. But I think USC took care of business. They did what they needed to do. I'm not on board with all the fans who are like, oh, this is terrible. It's like, hey, no, this is what was needed. Now you're going to play a tough Cal team. But for this game, it's like, I think it was fine.
Yeah, they fixed a lot of things by playing Oregon State. That fixes a lot of things. So the biggest takeaway from this game, though, is the offensive line opening up some holes. I mean, there was some very big holes to run through. The running backs ran really hard too, after there was contact. But there were a couple of those long runs that were not touched at all. Stephen Carr's first touchdown run, not touched, getting in on 8 yards. And, really good performance by Chris Brown. He graded out really well as a top rated USC player from the game, offense or defense. Toa Lobadan did a really good job on sealing some of the plays that Stephen Carr run. There was a long run from one of the Akasaja Eure really long runs. Did a really nice job of getting outside of a block and then pinning a guy inside to open up a big lane for him. And Clay Helton said that Austin Jackson and Chuma Ndoga, the 2 tackles, he said they had their best game of the season. So I think that's the best thing to take out, or the most important thing to take out of this, is the offensive line played well. They were getting a push. USC did some different things. They went under center. They used a fullback on short yardage, using Vi and handing the ball off to him in short yardage situations. So they did some different things there. They went for it on the 4th and shorts and got all those. They were really good on 3rd down.
Really good, yeah.
Because they ran the ball well on 1st down. It was a lot of times it was 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, rather than it being second and 9 or 10 or 12, which has been the case a lot, in the past with the running game. So I think that was the biggest thing for USC for their offense in this game was their running game was really good, and then started with the offensive line.
Yeah, I think they picked up like a 3rd and 15 or something on a running play. Like
it was 3rd and 16, and they picked up 15 yards to give it 4th and 1. And I guess we'll go for it here.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But the first like 8 or 9 third downs, USC either converted or then picked it up on 4th down. It was pretty crazy, like a very big difference. So some really good things. USC had 332 yards rushing. Oregon State had 332 yards. So it was pretty, and a 10-1 rate, like it was like 31 yards rushing for Oregon State. So that's what you want to see. Yeah, give up some points. Yeah, but I mean, I thought it was fine. Like you just don't look too much into it. It is Oregon State, but USC needed something like this, and they got it.
Yeah.
And I got a stat for you guys. I looked this stat up using Pro Football Focus's numbers. So USC had 353 yards on design runs. So that's all the running back carries. 353 yards. 162 of those yards were after contact. Pretty good number for USC. That's really good. But that means they had 191 what I'm going to call created yards. So that means you got 191 yards before someone touches you. That's offensive line is creating 191 yards in this game. So I looked at all the other games. USC for the rest of the season has 309 created yards. So they average 38.6 created yards per game. So the offensive line has been creating 38 yards a game. This game they created almost 200. So that shows you the offensive line had a really good game.
Right. And Oregon State's pretty terrible.
Well, why did the offensive line have such a good game?
Yeah.
Probably because Oregon State's not very good up front. But I give credit to them. They've gone. That's obviously a tough week to go through. It seemed like they had a spark in practice and stuff. It seemed like they were fueled by that to come out and perform. Good for them. Can they build on it? That's the question. Now, Cal, obviously, much better defense than Oregon State. And Cal's been playing really well. I mean, they just held, Washington State, they lost the game. They held them to 19 points, late touchdown.
On the road, 19 points. And the week before, it was 10 points to Washington. So
their defense played really well.
I mean, this is a really good defense. Even Cal's offense is awful. We can get into that in the preview show. I mean, I've been watching them. It's like they're ridiculous. But they scored 49 or something against Oregon State. So you can score on Oregon State. So it's good. I think it's good for USC. Going to be a much bigger test this weekend going forward for homecoming.
Yeah. 7:30 kickoff.
Yeah, we know
it's
about
It's going to be
today.
a late night for us again. Not Ryan. He's going to be.
I'm taking this weekend off, so I might tweet a little bit from the stands. But this is my 25th reunion, so I'm old. But and I'm on the reunion committee.
Wow, look at
you. And so I'm doing the tailgate. So this will be the first Coliseum game I haven't worked. I don't know how long. Just weird.
It's been a little bit, but sorry, I was thinking.
Do you remember this a time when?
Yeah, 2016 in the beginning. I think you had surgery.
Oh yeah. That's not bad. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, not going as a fan or.
Not that anyone needs to know this, but as far as this win, Dan and I said in instant analysis, it's good to get a win. However, you get a road win, especially with the drama that happened this week, get a win. But what happens is how you respond next week. And part of that is because, we opened the show last week saying USC's Pac-12 South hopes were all but gone. And now we're coming back on this show saying, there's still a chance.
Yeah.
USC has the easiest schedule, quote unquote, going forward against Cal and UCLA. They need Utah and ASU to win one each, and they both play Oregon.
To lose one each.
Lose one, thank you.
Yeah.
So, they still have a shot. Isn't that pretty crazy?
They could be the favorite. Arizona State is the only team, I believe, that controls its own destiny. But they have a tough. They have actually 3 conference games left, where a lot of the other people only have 2. So it's definitely doable. Obviously, you got to win both games, and the Cal game will be the toughest. UCLA can be a little feisty, but they've just done some horrible things. Like their special teams were awful. They ran out.
I saw your tweet about this. And I was like, what?
Yeah, when David Woods was talking about it. They went out for a field goal and didn't have a kicker, so it was like.
Seems like an important part of the situation. I don't know.
But they had so many bad special teams plays and stuff.
USC doesn't even do that. They might go and take the field with 10 players, but they at least have the important ones, like the kicker and the holder.
Yeah. So UCLA, that's. But it's a rivalry game, and Chip Kelly might have them really up for that. But Cal, for real, legit, played Washington State 2 weeks in a row, and gave up a total of 29 points. So both the only 2 touchdowns Cal scored the last 2 weeks were by defensive players. One was a pick six, and one was that was it Malik? What's his name? Malik. I forget his name, but he's the big number 99 guy that they run as a fullback sometimes. Threw him a pass. So the only 2 touchdowns they've had were defensive players. So it's not like this is a great offense, and they mix it. We'll talk about that next time. But really good defense. So USC is going to have a much tougher task. They're not going to be able to run like Swiss cheese like you could through the Oregon State defense.
True. Our preview show is on Thursday, so make sure you watch out for that. But you kind of alluded to some changes we saw as far as the offense goes. This is Clay Helton's first game back as play caller. What did you guys see, if anything, changes in the scheme?
It's kind of hard to tell because, like you said, it's playing Oregon State, but it did at first. It seemed like it didn't flow. I don't know if you felt that on the field. Like plays weren't really getting in there quickly. You wanted to get in quicker because he's already on the sidelines. But then I think they ran more tempo stuff, and it seemed to flow better. So maybe it just took him a little while to get used to it. But I thought it looked fine. But he said it on the conference call this evening. Like it's a lot easier to call plays when the running game's working. So when you can just hand the ball off and you pick up a whole bunch of yards, like 2nd and 2 is, I like calling plays for 2nd and 2.
I mean, 3rd and 16, you pick up 15 yards just by handing the ball. And they did that a couple times where they picked up lots of yards on third and longs. And they're like, that's something USC maybe has done once this year on 3rd and long where they've handed the ball off. And I don't know if it's just that they had confidence that they can pick up those yards or it's just like, we're running the ball, let's just try it type of thing. Because that's, 3rd and 15 or something, that's a lot of times you'll see screens, you'll see draws, that type of thing. Especially in the SEC, they really like to run halfback draws on 3rd and long. You don't see that from USC. But today, they just went with their regular offense, and they were tearing up the Oregon State front. So they was like, let's try it out. And Stephen Carr picks up 15. They go for on 4th down, they get it, continue to drive, and they score. So one of the craziest things I saw, when looking back through the stats, was that first drive was 18 plays.
Yeah. 6 first downs on that first drive. Like
Sustaining
no way.
Drives.
Yeah.
USC.
The sustained drives, but six first downs. Like there's no way they've come close to that this year. And there wasn't a lot of tight end involvement, which I would have liked to see in a game like this. But there was at least a couple like screens or swing passes out to running backs.
We did see Eric Cromanhook.
He did come in to block, right?
Yes.
He could block well.
He played probably 10 to 15 plays. I haven't charted yet, but he had only played one offensive snap the last 2 weeks, so he got back in there. You saw Trayvon Sidney play a little bit. He had not played at all the last 2 weeks. So they used some more bodies. Obviously, with Michael Pittman going down, you saw Devin Williams a lot more. Devin Williams had a really nice game. Leading receiver for USC. Had his first catch.
Yeah.
First touchdown catch.
He was leading the team in like yards or something at some
point.
Lead
him in yards. He did. Finished the game. He had 3 catches for 77 yards, I think.
The one thing I've been saying all year is like, just get him a short pass, and if you do that, it'll open things up for the deep passes. Keely's not paying attention.
I've been saying. Sorry, I'm monitoring.
That's okay. You missed my joke.
Oh, funny.
No, Shotgun has been saying that because we've seen very low percentage passes to Devin Williams and critical situations. Like, why are you throwing him the ball when you really need a catch? And you've definitely been saying, like, just dump a little off to him and let him run by some people. Once they did that, it seemed like the floodgates opened. Now, Michael Pittman was out, but it helped.
Yeah, so, every pass that he had before this game had been a deep ball. His first pass in this game was a deep ball. And then they throw him basically a 7-yard stop route or 6-yard stop route or whatever it was 3rd and 5 or 6 or something like that. Picks up a first down. And then a couple plays later, they throw the deep ball and it's there. And, actually you saw him on that first deep ball where he kind of slowed down a little bit. And JT talked about it after the game. I watched Keely's interview with him that said, he basically said, if it's press coverage, I'm coming back to you. Get out there. Nobody can stop you in press coverage. Once you get by him, you're running by whoever. And he said, I'll, do a quicker fake so I can get it out in front of you a little bit quicker. And he did that. It was perfect throw by JT on that ball. It was pretty good, not great coverage. It was pretty good coverage.
Yeah.
The DB was there, and he just dropped it right in the breadbasket, touchdown. And later, I think at the beginning of the second half, he had a nice catch, where he catches the ball on the move, and he picks up another 15 yards or so after the catch. So doing some different things then besides, okay, well, he's big and he's fast. We're just going to throw deep balls every time until it works.
Right. It's like playing hoops. Like you want to get that first basket, whatever. If it has to be a free throw, whatever it is, you get something to go through the hoop once, and it's like you feel like more comfortable doing it.
And obviously it helped because he was getting more plays because Michael Pittman was out.
Yeah.
The severity of that injury still to be determined. Clay said that he is going to have an MRI on it, I guess, tomorrow, which does not sound good for his immediate availability on his shoulder. So, Keely, what did he kind of look like on the sideline?
He looked a lot. He was definitely in a lot of pain. I heard from people on the sideline that he was crying. He left in the first quarter and then didn't return until halfway through the third, which makes you think that he was going through maybe tests or X-rays or something of that sort. So that was pretty bad. Stephen Carr as well. He was super gimpy. He was trying to get to the trainer's table and actually had to be carried to the table and then was eventually carted off. He did leave with the boot. Gimpy, Helton said it was a significant ankle sprain. So those are two high ankle sprain. So those are two major-ish injuries, but we'll get an update later in the week. But
yeah, the two big offensive players, obviously Michael Pittman and Stephen Carr. And then there's some concern in the secondary, too, as far as, I guess this is our injury updates section.
Yeah, it is.
Injury updates coming. Imam Marshall had an ankle sprain as well. He played really well. I think I retweeted him today. Like, someone asked how many, I think it was Rich SC asked, how many passes he had given up or something, and the numbers were pretty good as far as what he did. But it's pretty banged up secondary. Clay Helton said, they could move some guys around. You've already moved Jonathan Lockett, who could play corner, and you have him at the nickel spot because you had to move Ajani Harris to the safety spot. But if you're down another corner, because Greg Johnson also, what was his?
Shoulder injury.
And Lockett actually played corner during parts of the game. Which is, they moved everyone around,
yeah,
so it was a lot.
There's just not a lot of bodies in the secondary now. You had that run on safeties. Now you get a little bit of run on corners. Obviously, like, Jack Jones. There's some departures. There's people getting injured. So it's sort of a mash unit in the secondary right now.
Yeah.
Now, Cal's not like the greatest offense in the world, but certainly you'd like to have a few more healthy bodies if you could.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking at it right now, with Imam Marshall left with an ankle injury, Greg Johnson left with a shoulder injury. If you count those guys as injured, USC currently has 2 scholarship safeties, Marvell Tell and C.J. Pollard. They have 2 scholarship nickelbacks. These are healthy scholarship nickelbacks, and Ajani Harris and John Lockett, and 1 scholarship cornerback in Isaiah Langley. And he's the guy that's getting picked on the most right now from pass attempts and stuff. So the question is, who do they get back this week? Elijah Griffin didn't travel on the trip. Could he be back this week? He practiced some last week. Isaac Taylor Stewart's out of the boot. He's walking around a little bit, but he hasn't practiced at all, so don't know if he's going to be back. Is Imam Marshall going to be back? Can Greg Johnson come back? Greg Johnson, I saw in the back of one of the videos, walking by, didn't have ice or anything on his shoulder, so hopefully that's a good sign for it. He only played a couple of snaps. And then the question becomes, if no one else is healthy, you're going to play those 5 guys, which you probably will. That means C.J. Pollard goes in at safety. Ajani Harris moves back to one of the cornerback spots. So now you're limited on what you can do, because Oregon State in the second half, and that the 2-minute drill that they ran at the end of the first half, they were going 5 wide a lot of the times. USC, I don't know. They did not go. They stayed in the nickel, which meant John Houston and Cam Smith were still on the field. I don't know if they felt limited enough. They're like, I don't think we can go to dime, which is something they practiced. Before is dime, where you have 6 defensive backs. And it's kind of like, well, can we go dime? So maybe you look at okay, they've given up a bunch of those passes, and maybe that's because some of those passes were against linebackers, and they have to play a little bit more zone coverage because you got linebackers. The touchdown pass that they had, I think, right before the half was Kanai Mauga was having to guard it. It was the offense, outside linebacker having to, go outside and try to guard somebody. So there's some things there where the defense was a little bit limited, I think, in what they could do. So how much of those injuries play a part going forward? Didn't hurt you against Oregon, or hurt you against Oregon State. Didn't affect the outcome of the game. But will it against a team like Cal that's playing really good defense? We'll see, and we'll see who's back. You never know who's going to be back until Tuesday for sure. So
how often did C.J. Pollard play? How much did he play? Do you know?
Going by Pro Football stats, Pro Football Focus stats, because I've not done my charting yet. He played 4 snaps. Now he had a sack on one of those sacks. On one of those snaps. So
they still don't really. I mean,
it just doesn't seem like they trust him as much as they trust Jonathan Lockett. That's kind of the dilemma. Is like, do you put, if you put CJ in, you're going to move Ajani Harris down in that nickelback spot. So it's kind of a question: do you trust the 5th-year senior in Jonathan Lockett, who's playing really well right now, by the way, or do you trust CJ Pollard? Because Ajani Harris is obviously the guy that they trust probably the most as far as any of those defensive backs. Even though you got really good guys in Marvell Tell and Emont Marshall, they trust him as a coach on the field to be the guy because that he's the guy they want on the field the most. And so they found a way to put him on there with the injuries at safety. So it's down to Lockett versus Pollard in that regard.
And Clancy Findergast said after the game that they're going to stick with Ajane at safety and then Lockett at nickel. So going forward, unless
I would assume that means he has two healthy cornerbacks because if he doesn't,
yes, then that's what I was saying. Assuming going forward that they have healthy cornerbacks. I'm actually going to go do a question now that will address some of the defensive questions we had. Corey says, I generally like the aggressiveness of Pendergast's defense, but why in the world did they not have a way to stop the short slant passes?
We had on Periscope too, Todd MYR. Can Clancy learn how to defend the receiver slants? Oh my gosh. And then someone said, blink twice if Ryan is already talking in circles, but we'll go back to I don't know if I was doing that already.
I'm sure I have already.
Yeah, so that was a lot of the social media stuff with people talking about there's more slants. And that, early on, the first Oregon State drive, they had a couple of passes there, short passes to the sticks. One of them only went 9 yards, and then they couldn't, second and one, they couldn't get a first down at all. They ended up punting on that drive. So that was kind of momentum. And then they came down the second drive and missed a field goal. But that quick passing game was working pretty well for Oregon State.
Yeah, but also you're forcing a team that's very bad to go the distance against your team that has better athletes. And they gave up, 21 points?
Yeah, it was sort of
21 points is not great,
but don't break.
Yeah, they basically played bend but don't break. You saw that they were playing more outside leverage with the corners in that situation, funneling stuff towards the middle of the field where the safeties would be. And then when they got down towards the goal line, if you noticed, like right before halftime, I think it was, Ajane Harris, they tried to throw a fade ball, and he played more inside leverage on that. So I think it was more situational where they were just like, this team's not good enough to be able to constantly do well, and that was one of the drives early, and that probably gave them a little bit more confidence in their game plan. Like, we don't need to come out of this. Even if they get 9 yards, we'll probably stop them on the next play, if it's 3rd and 1 or something. So I think that's part of it. When you're playing bad teams, you make them do something good repetitively because usually they're bad for a reason. Usually they'll mess things up, and they did give up 21 points, but I thought USC played pretty clean on the defensive side. There weren't that many penalties or anything as far as helping them out. So I think that was part of the game plan. Not sure. I mean, that was something I would have asked Pendergast after the game, but I think that was part of it. It's kind of that death by a thousand cuts type of thing where it's come on, you guys, they're doing it every single time, but you would rather do that than have them, Hodgins on the outside is, I think, 6'4".
Yeah.
If he's going up against Isaiah Langley, you would much rather give up a 8-yard slant pass and tackle well. And USC did really tackle well in this game. So you'd rather give up that than the potential of the big play on the outside, which I think is what hurt Colorado a lot, was the big plays on the outside.
They had some big plays. And, Clay Helton said on the conference call, too, that early on they wanted to stop the run. So they knew Jefferson well. They stacked the box in the first half most of the time, stopped the run like that. It was 2nd and 1. They ran it nothing. 3rd and 1, ran it nothing. They ended up punting in that drive, So that was the opening drive. Like, that's something that – and USC ended up having that, crazy 58-play drive or whatever it was to score a touchdown. Obviously, it wasn't that. But, so I think they did that. And then in the second half, they dropped into coverage a lot more, and I think you saw less success. But USC was also able to get pressure at times. I think a lot of times they were stacking the box, and for some reason they weren't getting pressure on and Luton was back there being able to deal and pick up some of those those drives and continue them going. That was tough. I mean, for Oregon State to do that 3 drives in a row, I think it was 3 drives in a row. I mean, it was pretty impressive. But USC kind of backed off they were stopping the run anyway, and dropped back into coverage and was still generating pressure with the front 4. You saw John Houston blow up some crazy ass play that was that might have been on the missed field goal drive, which I don't remember, but just blasting forward. So there were some pretty big individual plays, 6 sacks overall. So it was, I thought it was a good day.
Christian Rector was a part of 4 of those sacks.
Yeah.
He got credit for 2.5 sacks. He was really good in this game. Jay Tufele was really good. He was throwing people out of the way like it was nothing. He had 2 sacks in this as well. The running backs and quarterback that were running, not counting Luton's sacks totals and not counting whatever carries he may have had because his long was 2 yards. They had 23 carries for 76 yards. So if you can get that, especially with the leading rusher in the Pac-12 coming in this game, then that's what you're going to do. You're loading the box.
He never got loose. I mean, he could never get on track. Yeah.
And that's what Clancy has done. He's always limited. He's chosen one thing to limit, and he chose that. So
I mean, Luton's threw for 300 yards, 301 yards. It took 45 attempts to get that, so I think you live with that, and you expect that your offense, especially the way they're playing, like, let's not give up big plays. Let's just force them to drive. If they score, they score. And the offense was just controlling the ball completely in the first half. So you just the offense will take care of it. If we give up 21, 28 points, we'll be fine.
And that's kind of the attitude that Clancy had after the game when we asked him. He was like, well, they kept just going for the slant. That's something that we didn't see on film coming into this game, but we figured it out. We made adjustments, and we lived to see another day. He was pretty much like, yeah, there was some adjustments, but it's not that big of a deal. But when you go on Twitter, everyone's like, so it's the juxtaposition was funny about Clancy.
Yeah, Millie 003 says, seems like they needed to blitz a little more. I don't know, I mean, they were getting pressure with the front four a lot. I don't know if you...
They blitzed more in the first half, and I think some of those were run blitzes intended to try to slow Jefferson. But then, the second half, they started, there were times when they dropped 8 guys. And, they just trusted Rector and Tufele and whoever was the third guy to try to get there, and Malik Dorton and some other guys. So I think that there was a lot of blitzing in the first half, but in the second half they kind of backed off and played more coverage, I think.
We can go to questions?
Sure, yeah, let's do, because, what else are we going to say? It's funny.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, how much do you take out of this game? Is this just a shrug game where you're like, yeah, it's a win, but, how much can you extrapolate from this game? Because USC could go on next week and lose to Cal. How much do you take out of this?
You can usually tell by the questions we get for the podcast, and it was just, not as many people calling it, if there's a lot of voicemails, it could be a great win, it could be, a loss, a disappointing loss, it could be a win you're upset about. This was just kind of a meh, it's it's fine, you did what you had to do. It was just kind of, someone tweeted me, that was a really good physical practice. And I thought that was great. That's kind of what
funny.
That was. That was going to be the most physical practice you were going to get, leading up to Cal. So, yeah, it was fine. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I forget. I'm sorry, whoever tweeted that. I retweeted you, but I don't remember who it was. I'm sorry.
I think it was I remember. They have a blue icon. We have a question from Steve who says, has Toa Lobendon's struggles been addressed? Will he move to a new position before the end of the season? We asked Clay Helton about it again at post-game. He said Toa only had two bad snaps. He said that they'll get it addressed. He went in and explained again how Toa has changed his hand technique. But Toa's a center. It seems like that's something that's not going to change the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's people tweet me about that. People ask, people in the media are like, hey, what's, if they don't follow USC, what's going on with that? We've asked Clay Helton. The one time it was direct, hey, you're going to replace them. He's like, Toa Lobendon's our center. I don't think he's backing off of that right now. Is it Clay Helton's call or Tim Drevno's call? I believe it's Clay Helton's call. He likes the senior there. Would Brett Nealon do a good job snapping? I think he would, but don't expect that. I don't think that's happening.
And Toa thought he had
you
felt very confident.
Did you jinx him with your
It's
interview?
the shotgun jinx. Last week was Callaway. Next week is Toa.
See, I interviewed Drevno and he gets promoted, so
So no one wants to interview him. Thanks a lot, guys. No, he felt very confident going into the game. He said he thought he would have a perfect game, and he had a good line about it. He came back with the tweet and said, "Oh, I guess I jinxed myself." It's something he hears, he knows, he understands. It's something he wants to be perfect at. It's not like he's trying to mess up, obviously. And
that's good.
Really, it was those two snaps. I didn't really see any of the other ones. None of the other ones stood out.
I didn't notice much, but Keely was saying there was some...
It wasn't as bad as it has been, but there were some where it was all over the place. I think it's hard to tell in the broadcast, but there were some that were offline.
You guys should check out the peristyle. Keely put the GIF up there of Toa snaps. It was pretty good.
From last week. I actually thought, even the second snap that JT didn't handle, I thought wasn't that bad of a snap. It was right below the belt, basically, and he snapped it hard, and JT didn't get his hands down quick enough to it. So I think there's a little bit of fault there for both of them. What he did differently this week, it looked like there's more velocity on the snaps, it seemed to me. So I think that's a change he made. I think that's a positive because he's not being hesitant with it. So I think it's going to be. It looks like it's improving to me. Whereas earlier, it looked like, this is this troublesome and it's not going to be fixed. It looked like it was an improvement in practice in this past game.
It could have been a disaster. Whoever's fault it was, there was two balls that were on the ground.
Yeah, the fact that JT recovered both of them was pretty miraculous.
Like if that happens against Cal, that's not happening. And
Is that how they score their defensive touchdown? Their
They're-
defensive player scores a touchdown?
They're going to put pressure on you. So you guarantee Tim DeRuiter, the defensive coordinator for Justin Wilcox there, they're going to put a lot of pressure on that exchange and what's going on there. And they're going to, potentially force some turnovers. So that's something that we're going to have to watch this week in practice, because you're talking about a game that might be in the teens instead of in the 30s when you're playing Cal. One turnover like that can crush you. So
Yeah, I mean, as far as keeping Toa at center, it seems like maybe it's a move to get him to the next level. But at what point does it hurt him to stay at center versus maybe guard, where he might have a better showing?
yeah, I would think he's going to play like guard or something at the next level. I don't think he's going to be a center at the next level, but I don't know. I mean, so is it really helping him, or I don't know. I'm not some NFL expert. I'll ask some of the dudes that we talk to. We talk to some dudes, some scouts, and see what they say. But I would think he'd probably project as a guard.
Yeah.
So maybe playing somewhere. But like we said, I don't think that's happening.
David wants to know, what can USC do to get the tight ends more involved in the offense?
Well, I mean, if you throw it to them, that'll help.
I knew that was coming. The classic Ryan troll response.
I don't know. They against Arizona State, they got involved. Josh Follow was involved, which I like him a lot. I'm not sure. Like at this point, it is what it is. It's like, is that Shotgun's thing? It is what it is. And
That's Lane Kiffin's thing, but that is borrowed it for a bit.
I thought you might see more of it this week, especially when you're running the football that well and you can do some. I mean, that's you run the football well. It's like perfect. You could throw to tight ends. It just seems like that would mesh and just be part of it's going to work. And you got two backs in a lot. But nope, didn't happen.
Yeah, they ran some two tight end sets. I saw several of those in the game. You saw probably some 3 tight end sets as well in the short yardage stuff. So they were in there. I can't really put a lot of fault with any part of the game plan. I mean, they just ran it. They should never have thrown the ball to begin with, ever. Just run the ball. You're picking up like
Ryan's
72
response.
yards a carry, basically, is what it felt like at times. So I didn't think you really needed to throw the ball. There was one point where I tweeted, I was like, okay, they don't need to throw the ball again. And then they threw 2 plays later, and I'm like, what are you doing? I just told you not to throw the ball at all again. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. That someone tweeted me see if it's a play action to Josh Follow or something that works, and I was like, don't throw it. There's no need to.
Yeah, I think JT had 130 or 40 yards at halftime. He ended up with 177. So
yeah, there's no.
Didn't need to throw in the second half at all.
No, and that's when Oregon State went on the run, and USC wasn't putting up points. It was like they threw the ball a whole bunch of times in a row. Not that they can't do it, but we went away from what was working. So. I think the opportunity to do that, though, was it David, was in the first half when you're talking about it was more of a balanced thing. In the second half, it wasn't balanced. It was like, hey, you figured out you're just pounding people 190 yards before contact. That's redonkulous. So
Yeah, we have a question. We actually got multiple questions about this, which say, what about Dominic Davis for a body in the secondary?
So I've got some of these comments as well as, what about the possibility of Pai Young? What about Dominic Davis? I think
Dominic Davis is there, actually. Isn't he practice with the corner still?
Yeah, he's a DB.
I've also
He's on scholarship.
I was going to throw out, and Trayvon Sidney as well. Are the names being tossed out?
Devin Williams.
Dominic Davis is your alternative, but
He's actually there. I totally forgot about him. He's legit in the. It's not move him to the secondary. He's in the secondary.
He is, Ryan.
I forgot about him too, but he's there. That's a possibility.
It's not like you corrected. We talked about how many scholarship guys were left. It's not like you corrected us.
I'm reading comments, people.
But no, that's a very good point. Our buddy Michael Castillo would love to see him at the
Heisman
running
contender
back
Dominic
as a running
Davis.
back. But yes,
That's his joke that he makes, Shotgun. You listen to the podcast.
Yeah,
I don't listen.
it's really he could play.
He may be forced to.
Yeah.
The thing is, and so with some guys, they're trying to save them with certain amount of games so they can redshirt.
Chase Williams, that was also tossed around in the comments.
Still injured.
He's injured and he moved to safety, but obviously he was at a corner spot. Right now, it doesn't really matter as long as you're at second, you're about that size, you're in the secondary, you play wherever.
Yeah, the positions aren't important right now.
No.
If we can
Or
getting
nickel.
people healthy is the first thing, and there's a ton of people healthy.
Maybe
But
not
Dominic
outside
Davis
linebacker.
is one. I'm sorry for forgetting that one, but he has not played a snap of cornerback in his career yet. So,
That's our buddy Eddie.
I don't think. I would have to double check on that one.
What's up, Eddie?
Oh, Eddie. Hey, Eddie. Sorry, Eddie. Didn't recognize you.
Keely doesn't, shouldn't pay attention.
No, he hasn't. He
here.
hasn't played one because he got moved last year and he didn't play it all last year.
Yeah.
His profile picture was small, in my defense. Guys, get your questions in. There's just a lot of comments.
I got some questions.
Go for it, Shoddy.
What's your predictions for the balance of the season? I just like the fact that they use balance instead of just rest of the
Balance
season.
in what sense?
The balance of the season, when it means the rest of it.
The remainder of
Oh.
the season.
Your balance. This
I
is what your
believe they're going to be
balance
balanced on offense for the balance of the season.
is. So
Yeah.
Clay even said that, I really wanted to be balanced and stuff, but they ran the ball 44 times and threw it 26, I think, or something like
Yeah.
that. So
He wanted to get the flow. Like, he was asked about the play calling and stuff, and he's like, I'm most critical of myself, whatever. But he talked about, like, he wanted to kind of get them in the flow of the game, get the tempo going, and yeah, I think he did fine. But as far as, like, the balance of the season, I mean, I don't know. That's why we're here. We're trying to figure it out. But, like, the Cal game is pretty important.
I mean, it comes down to next week, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge.
Hypothetically, UCLA, they can take care of.
I mean, you saw Oregon State get close, but there was a pretty big difference in talent. Now, I think there's a difference in talent between USC and Cal, but Cal's a well-coached team, and they have to be coached by a guy that Clay Helton fired. So is that amazing? Like, a cast-off from the Clay Helton staff is now like a fairly successful head coach in the Pac-12. Props to Justin Wilcox. We've talked about it a million times. I like the staff he's put together. But they're not good on offense, and they're doing some stupid things on offense, and they're getting a lot of public criticism about it. They have Chase Garber as their quarterback, who's not very fleet of foot, and then
Brandon McElwain.
Yeah, Brandon McElwain, who's like more of the athlete. McElwain's committed 13 turnovers or something and threw one touchdown pass, and they keep putting him into the games just randomly. Like, it might be it's kind of like if you're a pitcher, you're a batter, and you get pinch hit for, and the guy comes in at a 2-2 count, and you expect the guy to do something. They're pulling Garbers out, and then they'll put him in at 3rd and 9 because they run 2 plays with McElwain, and you're like, what are you doing? And then I tweeted in the game, so Cal's trying to come back and score, and they put McElwain in, and I'm like, I tweet Michael Lev, our buddy, talked about, what is Cal doing? And I said, it's almost like they just want to commit another turnover or something. And then he throws a pick in the end zone. And before, I'm like, this is exactly what they're doing. So it disrupts the offense. It's obvious that it disrupts the offense. And they continue to do it, and I don't know why. So they're brilliant on defense, but the offensive stuff, and they were using 3 quarterbacks at the beginning of the season. They cut it down to 2. But you're going to win with one and not with the other. And I don't know what they're doing. So we'll see if they do that against USC.
It's apt that you bring up that analogy because Brendan McElwain also plays baseball at Cal, and if he would have went out of high school and signed, he probably would have been a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
Really?
Interesting.
So he's a legit
significant
dude there.
money, yeah.
So he actually went to South Carolina. The football was the secondary thing. So that, him being a quarterback is a secondary thing, I guess, kind of for him. So he's actually a better baseball player than he is.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's okay, but just the way they're using him, it's either, you want to play him, play him. If you want the more athletic quarterback, do it. But you're mixing it up, and it's just screwing up your offense, in my opinion. And most everyone on Twitter, too, but it's just kind of crazy.
That is crazy. We have interesting question from Jonathan, who says, what should Clay Helton change in his philosophy if he returns in 2019?
I don't know if he's changing his philosophy. That's his philosophy.
What should he? He
What
should change
should?
physicality and
Yeah.
practice.
We had a question about this on the podcast too, about and people just want, you want a full tackle every day and stuff, but there's different concepts where, yes, I don't think you can have as much contact as what you could back in the Junction Boys days and all that kind of stuff, but you want to you want to practice smarter, and I think there's definitely techniques that you can incorporate where it's not going to come off as soft or whatever as kind of you see now. So I think certainly that would be something. We've already seen the end of No Pads November. I think that helps.
Yeah.
But I really feel like upgrading, I don't know if it's philosophy, but upgrading the coaching staff is something that you want to look around the staff and go, these guys could be head coaches. and you're not really looking around the staff and seeing that right now.
Yeah, surrounding himself with more experience doesn't help or it doesn't hurt. I also think implementing more competition in practices. I feel like it's definitely we know what's going to happen. Scout team kind of is there just to be there. I think if there's more competition, more liveliness in practice, maybe switching it up. Don't stick to a script throughout the whole year. Change it up. I don't know. Things that make people on their toes, players on their toes, so that the competition lives on throughout the season.
Yeah. No, I like that. That'd be...
Shotgun?
More competition is always good, and that would lead to, or physicality would lead to that more.
Yeah.
I mean, Clay's even gone. He tried to be, have more competition as far as, last 2 years when there would be some fisticuffs back and forth, he would stop the whole team and they'd have to do up-down stuff. This year it was like, well, as long as it's just two guys going at each other, it's fine. I like to see that competition. Like, he changed that. That was something he changed. But their week, what was it called? Mock game week was terrific. It was fantastic. And if they would have continued that, I mean, that's why you go to No Pads November, because you've had weeks like this for 3 months now. But there's no use in doing No Pads November if you haven't been hitting all the time. Now, I understand they have a ton of injuries. And we've talked about it before, is the question becomes, is your body prepared for the contact when you don't have any contact in practice and stuff? Having a tackle period once a day is not a bad thing. Then you practice your tackling, you practice avoiding those tackles. I know the quarterbacks can't do that. Then you can bring out the yellow jerseys for guys that, they're limited or whatever it may be. Hey, we don't want to tackle this guy to the ground, he's got a bad shoulder. Whatever it is, you can do that or keep those guys out, but you should still have those type of periods at least once a day would not be bad.
Yeah.
More physicality is never a bad thing in football.
For any Periscope super users out there, there's some weird stuff going on. We're getting like repeat questions. It's like they're bots, but they're like really specific questions, like what is Dan Weber? Different ways of asking what Dan Weber eats for breakfast. So I'm not like, I don't know what's going. Like, this is very strange. Like, different people had like the same questions.
The bots are taking over.
I don't know, but they're like, but they're not. They're smart questions. So it's not just like some
USC
random
football bots.
Yeah,
Very
I don't know.
specific.
If you guys know Periscope, or let us know someplace else, but it's kind of interesting.
Daniel says, does USC even have a chance to win against Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think Notre Dame's that great. I mean, they're not. They were much better a few years ago when they were in the national championship contention, and USC was right in that game.
Yeah.
I don't think they're the fourth best team in the country.
But they beat Michigan, and Michigan looks like really.
They beat Michigan in the very first game,
Yeah.
and people were like, Harbaugh needs to be fired, and then Michigan's offense got better
Yeah.
because they were playing a first-time quarterback. That's the thing. All the teams at the top right now are playing first-time quarterbacks. He said the first four teams. So Michigan, Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame all have first-year starters.
Yeah.
At quarterback.
No, certainly there's a chance. I mean, USC has a very talented roster, and we were talking about this like off the air. Like, can easily make the Rose Bowl. Like, you'll probably play Washington State, who you've already beat. You should probably beat Cal and UCLA. Easily Utah and Arizona State can lose a game. So I mean, the path to the Rose Bowl is not like.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like going through Fallujah or something. Like, you could, it's like a stroll through Iowa at this point. Like, you could just like, oh, that's fine. What was that movie, Stripes, where they're like attacking? I don't know, whatever. We won't get all that stuff. That's an old reference, and I'm not even getting it right. But yeah, no, certainly it's capable of doing that. And if you could, there's a little cherry on top if you could actually beat Notre Dame too. But I do think Notre Dame's legit. I think you'll take a really good effort from USC, like. What you saw against Oregon State, like that sort of effort, I don't think you're going to beat Notre Dame. But you can play up to your potential and beat Notre Dame. But we haven't seen USC really do that, certainly not for 4 quarters.
Mike Rust says, why can't they get Palaie Naioteote on the field more often?
So, Palaie Naioteote was benched the game before.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why he wasn't on the game this game. When your all-conference, potential All-American senior comes back, captain as a linebacker spot, comes back, has led you in tackles for 3 years, he's going to go back in that spot. So, and John Houston's been playing, it's probably played his best string of games, 3 games set.
He probably had the best defensive play in that game.
In that game, and he was really good against the Colorado game. So, he's been playing pretty well. I don't know where you want to put him. Now, maybe you can put him on the edge and pass rush some, like they did a little bit in that Washington State game. But then I think you're just trying to get him in the game instead of trying to get him in. And Clancy was asked, will he move to a different position? He's like, no, he's going to stay at that position. Next year he's going to take over Cam Smith's spot. So they want him there learning that spot. The thing is, if he had a really good game against Arizona State, they might be trying to find a way for him in. But when you struggle in a game, and that's what happens. Freshmen struggle, and then teams say, okay, let's attack that guy. And that's what happens. So, no, they're not going to put him out there just to get him reps and have other teams attack him again. He's got to improve and practice, and then, if there's an injury or whatever it may be, he'll get on in that regard.
I would like to see it. I think we had a question on the podcast I did with Harvey Hyde today about he went from playing like all the snaps to like none, right? Or did he have any? Or so, could he go in there for a series or two for Cam Smith to take Cam Smith, Cam Smith's coming off an injury? Can you get him off the field for a series or two? Wouldn't that make more sense? You don't have to bench him or whatever, but just he got benched, sure, but can he come in for 4 or 5 plays? I probably could, and I don't think he did.
I mean, this is what I petitioned for, I guess. I was trying to start a petition for Levi Jones last year. Those guys do need snaps to develop.
Yes.
So giving them a series or 2 series or subbing in 2 plays here just to give a guy a break, that type of thing, I'm all for. But there's been a lot of, this is not directed just at you guys, but there's been a lot of talk about Paulier and Ideal. Why is he not in there? Well, because he didn't play very well the last game. And they have a senior coming back. That's why he's back in the game.
But Mike, they like him a lot. That's why he played as much as he did. I don't know why it's a feast or famine, though. I don't know why it's like Cam's back, let him play a series or 2. It's fine. Give Cam a rest. I mean, he deserves some rest. He's coming off injuries and everything. He had the knee and the hamstring. So, yeah, I don't get that. So that's the call we got. Listen to the Peristyle podcast with Harvey Hyde. The voicemail. He was really upset. A lot about development. Like, why will only rotate more guys? You got to get the young guys in and develop. But when you're forced to, like the secondary, everyone's going to play. But he'd like to see more people get developed and stuff. And that would be a great spot for him to come in and help them try to shut down the run. But they didn't do it.
Not that it really matters, but I was curious why Jack Sears didn't play the last 2 minutes just to hand the ball off. I don't know.
Yeah, there were some tweets about that too. USC's really been horrible about getting quarterbacks in and stuff. Even when you get a lead, but usually it's because they had a lead, but it didn't look that good. So it's not just pounding the crap out of somebody. But even then, when you get to the point where you could have put them in, for whatever reason, USC's not really good at doing that.
It's just if you're coming off a game where Talanoa Hufanga got hurt on the last defensive play, do you want to protect guys just to make sure? I don't know. And like I said, it's not that big of a deal. I was just curious. We have a question from Matthew who says, what's the general vibe with recruiting? Is there any rumbling going on because of the coaching staff?
Yeah, we got a lot of recruiting questions, too, on the Periscope thing. Not really a recruiting show, but, no, I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Recruiting will be fine as long as, if the product of the field's okay, I don't think it's going to be a real big deal. Recruits look at it very differently than fans do, but USC could very well win the South. I mean, I think all the things are coming out now. Losing to UCLA, that could swing some momentum with some of the local guys and stuff. Losing badly to Notre Dame is not going to be a great look. So it's not super impacted and everything so far. It's not like people are jumping ship or whatever. But the coaching uncertainty could, have some sort of impact. So I think when Lynn Swann comes out and gives his vote of confidence, that's probably in an effort to help with recruiting. Keely mentions the early signing period. So nothing too, I don't know what you think. I think it's not, you go out to these high school games and stuff, it's not like people are forgetting about USC or anything.
Yeah.
So wouldn't be a huge concern.
Any other questions from Periscope or YouTube you guys want?
Mealy 003, you guys think Jack Sears will stick around? It's if he didn't leave before when he was third string and now he's playing some and looks good, I don't think he's leaving now.
It makes more sense for him to stick another year, get his degree, and then be a graduate transfer. Because otherwise, if he transfers, he's going to have to sit out a year. So why not just stay, get your degree, and then do that?
Plus, it's easier to learn one system and then go somewhere else rather than trying to transfer and learn a system and depending on the situation, you can then be a grad transfer and learn a third system. So there's some things there with that. Jasper asked, do you think Helton would be fired if USC would have blew a 21 lead against a bad Oregon State team?
I think I don't think you can come back from that.
That might be tough to come back from.
I don't think there's a tarmac, but I think that goes into the whole folder of. Ugh.
That's a icky. That would be an icky loss, especially with a 21-point lead.
Guys, the answer is it doesn't matter because it didn't happen. It's hypothetical, hypothetically dumb. You also don't need to ask about it. Who's going to be the coach because there still is one until there isn't one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been avoiding the coach hypothetical questions.
That's just to answer all those coach questions for you guys.
Yeah.
About Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, and probably every other name that Ryan will be like, oh God, why did you say that?
Ryan, Jim really wants you to talk about the possibility of Lane Kiffin coming back. I didn't make this up. He's been asking about it.
What?
Why? I feel like that's just a troll.
Just.
Even if it's not, you should. It's a bad question.
Lane's a better coach. Yeah, it's a bad question.
Smack him down and then we move on. That's
he's
how
a better
works.
coach now than he was before. But no, USC shouldn't have hired him then. They certainly shouldn't hire him now, and they don't have an opening. Molly the Pit 1 is John Baxter the best special teams coach SC can get? Well, Clay Helton he thanked God again today for John Baxter. So Oregon State that was just stupid.
Why?
It didn't even look like a fake.
It was dumb. Like they should have just either gone for it, and then they ran the ball on like third. It was dumb. That was like one of the worst Oregon State offensive sequences in the game, if not the worst. But then they ran some horrible looking fake field goal, and USC just backed up into a defense. And
the best part was like Cam Smith's like. He's like making signals being like, no, there's something wrong here. Yeah. It's like everybody just play regular defense.
But on the conference call, Clay Helton praised John Baxter for. So I think special teams have been better for sure. There was some really
definitely turned things around since the Texas game. I mean, they had the one the punt return by N'Keal Harry, very nice play by him. But the rest of it, the punters are actually kicking much better. Even though Reed Budrovich did have a 23-yard punt leading into their 2-minute drive, but it was still inside the 20. The punters are doing much better. Michael Brown has come on as your backup and has been really good as a field goal kicker. I mean, he's missed one, I think. Their coverage units have been pretty good. They've returned a punt for a touchdown. They've blocked field goals. I mean, they've completely 180'd the season from after that Texas game where they gave up the biggest play. They allowed a drive to continue with a very bad penalty. They've had a couple penalties, but not as many penalties as they were getting to.
Yeah, so. I don't know if they got I think it's been every game, but I don't know if they got one against Oregon State. They every time there's always a special teams penalty, but they might not have got one against Oregon State.
It had been
they did.
Every single.
Oh, they did.
I believe they did. I remember.
It had been every single game until the Texas game, and then I hadn't tracked it since.
Yeah, no, I think everyone since then too. It's been, but yeah, no, Clay Helton is a big John Baxter fan, so after the season, if you're expecting, I don't know. We don't know how many changes he's gonna make. Would that be one of them? I don't know, but I feel like he's gonna have to make some coaching changes. Barring a run to the Rose Bowl again, which we talked about is actually possible for sure.
I mean, it could happen, guys. If Oregon plays well, USC could, and USC's. This was a turning point. Their offensive line plays better. They build on this last game. USC could be in the Rose Bowl easily.
Yeah.
And they could somehow win it. They find a way. And then if that happens, Clay Helton has now won 2 Pac-12 championships and 2 Rose Bowls in 3 years, and he's not going anywhere for you guys.
The problem would be, though, if making the Rose, I think getting to the Rose Bowl is realistic. But it's also realistic that you get to the Rose Bowl and get thumped by Notre Dame, and then get thumped in the Rose Bowl.
And are you going to get thumped in the Rose Bowl? Because if Michigan ends up in the Final Four, then they're not going to be there.
Penn State or something.
Yeah, Ohio State, Penn State. You beat Ohio State is not as good this year.
You're talking about a team that has the same kind of athletes, same caliber of athletes as USC, and that's where USC doesn't do very well.
And it could all not come true. I mean,
right?
Because they need a lot to have. They need Oregon to play really well.
That's the problem, though, is that you could find a way to beat. All you got to do is beat 2 fairly bad teams, and you're going to go. And Utah has lost their quarterback, Tyler Huntley, so they're likely going to lose a game. Arizona State, I mean, really impressed with what Hermage was able to do, but certainly they could lose to Oregon. Now, Oregon got thumped by Arizona by 30 points or something, but
really weird.
The Pac-12 is just bonkers. So to talk about this is going to happen, you have no idea. USC could lose their next 2 games, they could win their next 2 games. We don't know, but there's a lot of possibilities there. Where were we? I don't even know what we're talking
People are saying, are you really talking about the Rose Bowl right now?
It's a possibility. That's why it's
Like,
so crazy that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
It tells you how bad the Pac-12 South is as a group.
It's the Pac-12 is god awful right now. That's why I think whoever goes could get thumped. Now Washington State looks legit, but USC beat Washington State. Like it's crazy the Pac-12. I mean, I follow because I do the podcast of champions. If you like the Pac-12 football, go check out the podcast of champions. Me and David Wood, so USC UCLA perspective on this stuff, but I follow it way closer than I really should, and I watch all these games and I pick all the games against the spread, and it's just nuts to go from week to week. I'm 500. Perfect even record for the last 4 weeks, and I'm way above 500 normally. But just every week, everything changes. It's like Cal scores 49, Cal can't score at all. Arizona, pounds Oregon. UCLA wins a couple games, and they get smashed. It's crazy. Washington doesn't give up a defensive touch. Doesn't give up a touchdown on defense and loses to Cal. Like it's insane.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's true.
It's crazy.
That's all true.
And Herb Edwards doing amazing stuff.
The interesting thing is that
Nikhil Harry's doing amazing.
say USC gets back to the Pac-12 championship, they play Washington State. Mike Leach has kind of created this like PR campaign around the whole officiating scandal.
Yes.
So much so that on ESPN they were like, oh, well, the one loss to USC, there was controversy on that. But the controversy was on the JT Daniels targeting call. It wasn't on the Port Augustin. So it's just interesting
But
how
the Port Augusta one happened after, and then they're wondering, like, hey, did someone make a phone call
I
on
agree,
that?
but
Yeah.
the official controversy was on the JT Daniels
Sure.
call. But it's just interesting the PR campaign that Mike Leach has successfully created.
Well, he named, was it Willie Dixon?
Woody Dixon,
Woody
yeah.
Dixon, yeah. I mean, he named him in like his press conference after the game. He knew what the heck was going on with that. So for the Pac-12 to say this is a one-time incident, like there's no freaking way. That never would have made it into a report if it was a one-time thing. The only reason that those words were written down is because I'm tired of this happening.
Yeah.
100%. Like
Crazy.
bet anything on that.
Speaking of betting, if the odds were plus 10,000 to not have another bad snap for the rest of the season, Jasper asked, would you take that bet? $1,000 bet would net you $100,000.
Wait.
What?
So
Would you bet very good odds?
1,000 to 1 odds.
Yeah, 1,000 to 1 odds. 10,000 to 1 odds.
Repeat the whole thing again?
If the odds were 10,000 to 1
If it takes as
to
long
not
as
have
that.
another bad snap for the rest of the season, would you take that bet?
No.
$1,000 bet can net you $100,000.
I mean, I might bet like $10.
Yeah, $10. I'm knowing. I'm in.
Yeah, I would do that, but I wouldn't want to spend more than $10 because I know that I'm not getting that back.
Don't bet the farm on that.
No. I
Sean-
would bet a small amount to win a lot, but yeah.
Sean asked, the play calling seemed a lot better, question mark, and then Ron, to couple with that, how much of the impressive line play was Drevno and how much was an outmatched opponent? I think a lot of it was
It's Oregon State.
You could dominate Oregon State, but they did some different things. I think they actually, widened their splits a little bit. The fact that they were able to get out in space and block some guys, that's an improvement. That's some positive vibes.
Yeah.
Can they continue that going forward? That's the question.
Yeah, I think everything was good, but it's like you just don't know. You'll know next week.
Robert says, based on what you saw on Saturday night, are you at all concerned about Cal and UCLA?
Certainly about Cal because of the defense. Like that's
I mean, yeah. This wasn't a performance where USC had all their ducks in a row and everything looked perfect. So
yeah. Watch Cal play. Like they are legit as far as defense goes. I mean, you got Jake Browning as Washington's all-time leading everything, and I know he's not that great. I don't think Myles Gaskin ended up playing that game. He came back.
That's a big part.
He came back for this last game against Stanford, right, where they got the win. But this is the defense that Gardner Minshew has been slicing and dicing and crushing people. He didn't get the 20 points at home. This is so you don't hold Washington State under 20 points. Unless you're doing something right. They're doing a lot of things right. So this USC offense is going to have to play a lot better, and they're going to have to sustain drives like they did against Oregon State. But you can't just hand the ball off on 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 16 and get 15 yards. Like that's not going to happen against Cal. It's going to have to be scheme. It's going to have to be. You're going to see the play calling. It's going to have to be really good, and you're going to have to try to put guys in position to win, not just. Here's the ball. Athletes go out and just crush people. Like it's not going to happen.
The key is going to be red zone efficiency because Justin Wilcox, his style has always been bend but don't break. I know USC people hated it when he was at USC. He's not being aggressive enough. He would, some games he would never blitz. You remember that conversation.
Sark loved me for that.
Yeah, we charted all the blitzes to see if they were blitzing.
Wow, TBT, I forgot about that.
Yeah. They weren't blitzing at all. They're basically just playing back and making teams drive the field. That's what USC's going to have to do. That's what USC's not good at. So that is a concern. But they also did come off of a game where they had 18-play drive, they had 11-play drive for a touchdown. So I think there's some positives to take from the Oregon State game, but can you take a lot from it? No. Are you concerned with Cal and UCLA? I'm still not concerned, though.
You weren't concerned with Arizona State either.
Yeah, I don't.
You haven't shown a lot of concern. You're like, they'll cover the spread every time. They did cover the spread. Okay.
Yeah.
I think they would blow them out.
Yeah. Props to Oregon State. They covered the spread. So with the spread, I think it ended up being like 16.5, and they won by 17. So.
Arizona State's still not that good.
They're in the driver's seat.
N'Keal Harry is good. It's the only one.
Good.
He's the only one.
I thought
Manny,
Manny Wilkins was going to come back and play better. He played better. Benjamin is one of the best running backs in the conference.
Benjamin, I was very impressed with him. It's the first time I've seen him since the high school All-Star game, so I was impressed with him.
Yeah.
And I was already impressed with N'Keal Harry. So I'm impressed with two players on their team.
People want to know what you're smoking, shotgun.
Yeah.
We've reached the top of the hour. If you want to get some rapid fire questions in before we wrap it up, we have a question from Eddie, who says, what is T. Martin's role now that he isn't calling plays?
Recruiting, wide receivers, and
He's the
still
eye in the sky.
Yeah, he's helping out from the press box. He's still involved in all the offensive meetings. It's not just about who calls the play. It's they have to come up with a game plan every week. So he's involved in all that.
Yeah, so they should be using his same scripts that he was using at the beginning of games too, because those were very successful so far this year. If we went against Bama or LSU, what would the score be?
Not pretty. Well, LSU. Okay, so LSU's defense would do some damage, but their offense isn't that great.
Yeah, they would score like 23 points.
But Bama would be like it was a couple years ago.
50-6. That sounds like a good score.
Yeah,
that seems familiar.
Shrink. This is a real question. Why don't we dump the shotgun, especially with the snap problems? They did some under center, right?
They did.
But that's the philosophy of this offense. So that's not. That's like asking why don't they run the I formation, because that's not what they do. So it's a shotgun pistol, mostly driven offense.
Yeah, Corey asked a similar question. Should they line up in more center to help the snaps in the run game? The other thing, though, with the shotgun is that it helps a quarterback. Now, if the snap is there, it gives them an opportunity to quickly examine the field rather than worrying about their steps as they're retreating, which is something you have to worry about more. When you do play action and stuff, you can still keep your eyes down the field. That's why you can do the RPO stuff versus, classic power eye. I remember David Green at Georgia was the winningest SEC quarterback when he left school. He was really good at just turning his back completely, and he would have the ball in his midsection. And it's very dangerous because if someone's coming off the edge, you can get destroyed. But he would fake it, and he would have the ball in his gut, and then he would slowly turn around, and there'd be somebody wide open because of how well he would fake it. But that's like you're not looking at the defense at all. Whether it's a young quarterback, you want to give them as much opportunity as possible to read the defense as quickly as possible. So I think the shotgun helps with that. But you got to get the snap to them. They got especially if the snap is where it should be in the target area, then you're being able to scan the field without looking at the snap as well, so that would help as well.
Part of the advantage of being in the shotgun, you lose if the snap is,
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way.
Anthony says, we also got another question about this. Would you run Akacetic Ware 75% now that he's shown how good he is? Also, will he get a super majority of snaps now that Carr is out?
You'll see 70-30. I mean, I think that's what you'll see with Vi.
I don't have any issue with the distribution of carries so much. I mean, it's been fine,
It's been okay. Sometimes it's like a guy's running really well, and you're like, well, we got to get.
Yeah, I don't like that. But in this game, I was like, oh, they run the ball pretty good, and
Yeah, I think it'll be 60-40 to 7-30 somewhere. In there.
Yeah. Thanks, Anthony.
Augustine wants to know why you're wearing a Rams hat, shotgun.
I'm not wearing a Rams hat.
Ryan.
Oh, yes. I'm not a huge Rams. I'm more of a Steeler fan, but I did have my buddies and I had season tickets the first year, and I bought this hat. But I went golfing yesterday, and I played really well, and I was going again today, so I wore it again.
Lucky hat.
And I had the best round of my life, so it was good.
Jasper asked, are there no hotel accommodations in Corvallis? Why did the team stay in Eugene?
They didn't have enough hotels.
Oh.
And the thing is, never stay in a college town at the hotels in a college town, if possible. Stay in a larger city close to it. Because there's much more chance of antics and fire alarms going off at 3 a.m. if you're staying in Starkville or you're staying in Oxford versus, I'm using Mississippi. There's not any real big cities there. You go to Jackson, I guess, there. But you don't stay in Athens when you can stay in Atlanta. that type of thing. You stay outside of where there's going to be college pranks and stuff potentially happening.
Gotcha. We have one. Who has been the offensive and defensive MVPs
Michael Pittman
this season? Nick Pittman?
Yeah, he's still.
I feel like first half Amon-Ra, second half Pittman.
What about Alexander Ware?
He's close, but no, still Pittman.
All right. How about defensive?
Cam Smith. Given the difference we've seen without him.
Porter Gustin.
Yeah, I mean,
Difference we've seen without him.
Okay, cheating. Sure.
those guys. I mean, Yvonne Marshall, you could say.
True.
Well, Marvell Tell, the difference without him too.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
It's
almost
tough-
like
it's
when you
tough one.
have senior defensive players that have started for 3 or 4 years,
They're
and
good.
you lose them, it's not as good.
Yeah.
It's weird, huh? Or when you have 3 defensive captains, you play without them, you don't play as well on defense. Amazing.
We had a
Which is
question.
why I don't think Arizona State's that good again.
All right.
Whatever. We had a question about any potential red shirts that we're excited to see in the future.
Let me
I think
find.
Justin
you talk
Medich
about
and
that
Brett
while I
Nealon.
pull
They
up.
look good.
Yeah, Brett Nealon. So it's Nealon won't redshirt, right? Or
He's only played like 2 games. Oh,
He
I
doesn't need a
just
redshirt.
kidding.
He redshirted last year.
True. Never.
oh,
heard
okay.
that.
So he wouldn't be. So guys that are gonna redshirt. McLean, like he had the blow up play on.
Elijah Winston.
I'm sorry, it was Elijah Winston that had that really good.
Yeah, he's
play.
really come on late in the season. He's played the last 2 games. He also blew up an offensive lineman last week in practice and had his entire defensive group yelling. Caleb Tremblay, a guy we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, he's been
because
hurt
of
like the
injury.
whole time.
So he's another guy. Isaac Taylor Stewart, Elijah Griffin's already passed the redshirt
Yeah,
point, but
he'll-
Isaac Taylor Stewart is right at the threshold, so I doubt he'll be back for any more games. So those are a couple guys that stand out. Dedich, I really like him. I think he's going to continue to
he's
get better.
He'll fight with for Nealon for sure at the center spot, but he's just a nasty dude. Like he'd be fun to watch.
His competitive fire is
Yeah,
good.
it's legit.
Needed in this team. Dark horse candidate Caleb Tremblay. When he's actually healthy, I think he'll
So
be.
good.
Oh, you did. Sorry, I was reading
Yeah.
comments again. My bad.
That's hard. Yeah.
Any
Do a
final
couple more
questions?
than we should.
Probably. We're
Beck
past 8.
is a lot of negative. Beck Stein has a lot of negative questions. How bad will the Notre Dame game get? Will Helton be gone if USC wins 2 of the next 3 or then lose 1 of the next ones? So, do you foresee Clay present if he loses just 1 of the next 3 games? Yes, he'll be present if they go 2-1.
We're gonna just talk about the team right now. Like, this is.
Chet, somebody asked, imagine the secondary if Biggie actually went to the NFL draft last year.
Ooh.
They'd be very
That's
thin.
a great point.
And team used to be great. You asked what happened to Elijah Griffin. He has a shoulder injury. He did practice some last week, but he has not come back.
He didn't make
did
the
not
trip, yeah.
travel with them for the
Yeah.
trip, so he was not available for that. Mandy asked, do you think he'll get significant playing time when he returns? If everyone else is still hurt, then that's the
All
guy
right, he
that's going
should
in.
get
Yeah.
some reps. Talanoa Hufanga actually did make the trip,
He did.
so that's cool
So
for
did
him.
Porter, right?
Porter did. He's scooting around.
Yeah, but Talanoa, I mean, he's from Corvallis, so it's,
Yeah.
it's obviously a bummer for him to get hurt. That he could have played in front of all his friends and family and everything. But at
Another
least he
popular
made it.
guy was Marlon Tuipulotu from
Oh,
Independence,
yeah.
Oregon. He had a lot of friends, family on the sideline that he was talking to before the game.
Actually, from LA, they moved to Oregon, went to school up there, and then
Sure.
moved back because his little brother is at Lawndale. Went and saw him.
Oh.
Oh,
So, and since you asked about, or said Hufanga, somebody asked, Crazy T asked, how was Hufanga's replacement? Which would be a Jenny Harris.
He's
Played
been good.
fine.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, he was. I think he was. He had to kind of do a lot of the calls. I think when Marvell Tell was out, but now he's just kind of complimenting Tell, and Tell can continue to do his thing. So yeah, I mean, it helps having an experienced guy there.
It seemed like, and I'll dive into this more when I rewatch the game closer, seemed like they used Ajene as the one high safety more than Marvell.
Yeah, and then-
which is interesting because, now granted, Marvell can blitz if you move him down in the slot to guard a guy, so that gives you more options there, and I think he's a much better blitzer than Ajene is just because of his size and strength. But
But Harris's cover skills, right?
I know you would think that you would leave Marvell up top and move Ajene down in the nickel when you have to spread out the safeties that way. So I'll look at that more, but that was kind of interesting to me. We'll see if that's actually the case. Last 2 I got is what happened to tight end number 88? That'd be Daniel Amorbebe. He's been cleared medically. He is not comfortable enough to play, so we've not seen him. He's not practiced in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And if Clay stays, will they keep Pendergast? I would think so because Clay went out of his way to try to go get Clancy Pendergast.
Yeah, that would be unless he,
unless they're giving up 500, 600 yards
Yeah,
a game.
we don't know what's going to happen. So it depends how the season ends and all that kind of stuff. I anticipate some shakeup on the staff. I wouldn't put him as one of the first guys that would be let go, but who knows? I don't think that would happen.
Especially if you're thinking about potentially overhauling the offense. I don't think you want to do both.
Yeah.
Maybe some shakeups on the defense, but you don't want to get rid of your scheme after you have guys who've been in it for a while.
You might get a position coach or two on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, the potential, like Keely said, it could be bring in a new offensive coordinator with their own offense. Like that would be my preference, but we'll see. We should probably wrap it up. Or you got one more?
People want bowl predictions.
Those are the worst. I hate a lot of things.
And with the way the Pac-12 is this year, there's no clarity. So it could still be anywhere from I think they could still go to the Vegas Bowl all the way to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
and that's almost
the range.
That is like the full gamut of the Pac-12.
Right.
I don't know what their worst bowl is, but I think the Vegas Bowl is one above it, right?
Yeah,
I think it's the next to last.
Yeah, it's Cheez-It Bowl. Okay, I hate when a lot of
What
people
are
are
these
respect
names? The Cheez-It Bowl, the Red Box Bowl.
It's called sponsorship.
It is.
Shotgun.
But people I respect, like Stuart Mandel does a lot of bowl predictions every week, and it's so pointless because you have no idea what's going to happen. It's just, and with the Pac-12, there's different, each bowl, there's some that can select if you have the same record, you can select up or down. Like there's a lot of rules to project at this point. I think makes zero sense because, like Shotgun said, it could be anything.
Which one would you want to go to?
Okay, so Vegas is good because you get it out of the way. It's early. As far as personally covering it, you don't have to it's not Christmas or
I would like that.
Yeah, there's some of those. I mean, obviously the Rose Bowl is awesome. It's local, New Year's Day,
And it's fun.
And it's fun. It's fun to cover that one. So I would rather be on the extremes, instead of I don't want to go to El Paso, stuff like that. Some of them get I forgot. I looked up all the dates of what they were, and there's a bunch of them are on the
three
same
of them
day.
on the same day, and
Yeah,
two of them are the same time slot.
It's
Good
those-
job, Pac-12.
Yeah,
Good job,
the
Larry
Pac-12
Scott.
is-
Good
yeah.
job once again, earning that
It's
$4 million.
bowl season. You have 2 weeks to do these, and you put two of them at the exact same time.
Well, that's like Dan and I were stuck in UCLA Oregon traffic trying to make it to Corvallis. We were like, thanks, Pac-12, for scheduling both LA teams in Oregon at the same time. Alrighty. We're ending it on a...
I would have said the Cheez-It Bowl or the Emerald Bowl or what it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to?
If they would have stayed in AT&T Park. That was kind of an interesting, fun dynamic there.
So where is it
And
now?
you're in San Francisco. Now you're in Santa Clara at Levi's. There's
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
there.
No, Levi's.
Yeah. You're not in
Levi's.
San Francisco to have fun.
Yeah,
It's
you already got to go.
all right, we'll get there. We're flying into San Jose. All right, we're flying out of San Jose. Cool, we're done.
But there's a lot of balls in the air right now, just
Yes.
juggling. The Pac-12 turns itself on its head every week.
Cannibalism.
Yeah.
Pac-12.
Every team in the Pac-12 has at least 3 conference losses except Washington State.
It's crazy.
It's good.
So
And Washington State's
That's-
now, what, 6th or 7th, 8th? Is that where they're at now?
They're
They were
seventh, I
eight.
believe.
they were 8th in the
Oh, wait, no.
playoff, and
Western
then the playoff
Virginia
thing won't
is-
come out till Tuesday. So I don't know what they were in the AP. I didn't see that.
I think they moved up in the
So I
top 10.
was-
They moved.
I
They were
was
already
golfing.
in the top 10 last week, so I think they moved up a couple spots.
Okay.
Let's see. Alrighty. But this is why you should stay tuned. Pac-12, you never know. You
true.
never know what's going
It's
to happen.
craziness.
Craziness. We'll be previewing Cal USC on Thursday at noon. So tune into that. But that's Shotgun Spratling. That's Ryan Abraham. I'm Keely Eure. Thanks for tuning in. We went a little bit later than usual this time, so thanks for sticking around.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys later this week.
And Tuesday, USC basketball starts.
Oh, true.
We will not be talking about that on television. Maybe after the football season, but until then, no.
We'll see. Alrighty. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys.